Thanks, Rafa. Happy to be here for the semifinals of Cup. My name is Matt Nibirik Daniel. I'm supposed to be joined by Thomas TJ James, but hey, TJ,
Matt,
what's up?
I have been hiking all day today. If you follow me on Twitter, you know about that. I'm here in the Sierras. You can see the big reservoir behind me at Eagle Point. And I have to tell you, I have been traveling all day. I'm at the peak now, and I still have not found anyone who's in favor of removing the import restriction here in the LCS.
Yeah, that's going to be rough, TJ. Maybe you should look at some Korean barbecue places down in LA. You may find one or two stragglers there. But I don't think the mountains are the place to go.
I have to turn all the way around for that, Matt. Can I just cast from here, or?
I mean, whatever makes you comfortable, buddy. I mean, if you want to cast from there, we'll work it out.
Okay. Well,
it's a lovely pattern on your shirt.
Then. We'll see how this works then. Welcome to game. It is Barrage versus SolaFide here in the semi-finals of Cup. Matt, that worked pretty well. I thought there were going to be some tech issues. I planned this out. I got my snack bars. I had lots of props, but Rafa went late on the desk.
You used none of them. You used like one prop, the hat, done with it. You're very efficient today.
Yeah. You know who else has to be efficient? Barrage, because they are playing SolaFide. And we've talked a lot about Barrage here on the broadcast. They are certainly one of the favorites coming out here. And SolaFide, I think, are a very good measuring stick by which Barrage need to be measured, given that they are our hottest, I'm going to say, pure amateur team.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've been really impressed with by Barrage, is just how far they've come with, you know, these amateur staples, if you will. These are all people that have been in the amateur scene for years and years and years, and they're going up against teams that have, like NoOrg, have straight up LCS players on them. But Barrage coming in with amateur mainstays and being able to make a huge showing out of it, getting as far as the semifinals so far.
Well, getting as far as the semifinals so far in Cup, obviously performing very well across Risen and Big as well. They are the team to watch alongside SolaFide, which makes it all the more important as SolaFide come in with a stacked roster of former LCS and LCS Academy players that we see how far Barrage can run it heading into Proving Grounds. They both have something to prove. We will get a Rel first lock-in here for Barrage. They love to play around their team fighting, and Rel certainly is one of those team fighting supports.
She's just really good as a reliable engage for your support, and especially because of the way Barrage play around them. Probably around Winter.
So these stats are Cup only. And Rel obviously has very good win rates globally and competitive globally. But 67% here in Cup, that's actually kind of remarkable. We do get SolaFide grabbing an Udyr on the opposite side. That will be for Winston. And that is maybe our first highlight point here in the matchup today. Winston versus Fnatic. Would you like to talk about that?
Yeah, Winston is one of those junglers who is on a very experienced team. You look at all the people around him, you have multiple former LCS pros, whereas Winston had a stint in Academy, but really is one of the more amateur people on this team. And he is the person who the team plays through, but he's also been known to make a few mistakes. We were talking last series, we saw him about his Hecarim, where we weren't super big on it, whereas things like his Udyr, like his Graves, are where he's going to be able to shine.
Yeah, and it is the thing to watch as we continue here, because Fnatic is the staple of Barrage's early game. Fnatic is the star, I would say, of their laning phase. So especially now that there is a Hecarim picked up over in the Barrage jungle, watch how that early interplay goes. Winston can be blown out early. And if that happens here, it's real good for Barrage and a real problem for SolaFide.
And the rest of this draft from SolaFide is literally exactly what you'd expect with that Senna pick, right? Senna Tahm Kench is one of those lanes that scales to infinity and just cannot be blown out by pretty much anything. Barrage, I like seeing more Jinx because she has been sort of fringe meta for a long time, but the most recent buffs to her range with rockets, I think, have pushed her over to the edge where she's competitively viable again. And as a hyper carry into Senna, I like the look of it.
Yeah, it also works very well in lane because it gives Gorka the potential to trade against that Senna Tahm Kench without just getting zoned off. So, lots of good here in the Barrage draft so far. SolaFide are going to be playing through that bottom lane you see them drafting for here. Getting a hard carry like current Senna into Apollo's hands was very important from their draft, because that is where SolaFide are most likely to dominate. It is during the laning phase, in the bottom through Apollo, and in the top side through Dontla, whose draft we still haven't seen yet. They want to boost those lanes out ahead and use that to get through the team fighting phase that Barrage enjoys so much.
I was interested to see the hover of Aurelion Sol from Barrage, because if you talk about, you know, there are very few players in Amateur who are known for a specific pick, but APA is definitely one of them. That Aurelion Sol, I remember last season, was banned out against him game after game after game because he is so good at it. But recently, even sans bans, APA has not been playing it. Has been going for things like TF, things like Karma, and Galio, these other supportive mid laners who are a lot more meta, but still allow him to make impacts on the side lanes.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the things we should be talking about as we hit this second phase. APA loves to roam, and just as much as Fnatic is a star of the laning phase here for Barrage, APA is doubly so, because APA is the reason Fnatic is oftentimes able to start getting out ahead during the early and mid game, because the amount of map control that APA can earn for his team. He's a very, very macro-cognizant mid laner, and that's another stark contrast to SolaFide, where Tuesday doesn't spend a whole lot of his time roaming, tends to play more, I'm not going to say supportive, I'm going to say backline mages. And so you just expect to see Tuesday stay in their lane, wait for a team fight, sit behind the team fight, pump in spells from something like a Victor or a Syndra, and come out on top.
TJ, we got a Ziggs. This is the first Ziggs of Cup, but this is an APA special. We've seen this before. Actually, in one of their matches against SolaFide, APA pulled it out. Just has tons of wave clear, tons of wave control, and you can always ult the side lanes if you really want to affect them, but it is about controlling that mid lane.
So maybe a little less of the roaming we normally see, a little bit more lane focus. And one of the things that's most exciting to me about this is the team fight potential that Barrage have now built up in this second half of the draft. Like, they obviously are going to be a really scary team fight team the second they get a Rel, but you get Rel, Aatrox, Hecarim, and now we're talking beautiful front lines. So the question is what follows up behind it between the scaling Jinx AoE and the Ziggs. Like, that is genuinely terrifying, and SolaFide are going to have to play damn good to counter that with kind of just this Senna and Sylas come like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter if you can get those fights, though. Barrage love to fight, as anyone who has watched any of their gameplay knows, but the problem is getting fights that will be successful. That's the real sticking point for them, is finding engages that will actually work out for them. Sometimes I've seen them take engages where it's just like, yeah, this looks great for the first 3 seconds and no further. And it all kind of goes to hell in a handbasket. So I think the key for Barrage here will be, you have a great team fighting team, utilize it in a way that you can't be punished for taking those fights.
And as the hat's coming off, Matt, I think it's time for the gloves to come off as well. It is our first game of our second semi-final here. Winner of this goes on to face NoOrg in the Challengers Uprising Season 2 Finals.
Of course, if you didn't catch the NoOrg games, check that out on the VOD later. This series is going to be just as much of a banger, but we got to see Veigar coming out from Five Fire, which was similarly, I'll say different as the Ziggs. Just one of those wild picks.
We'll slow things down here to start things off. So, SolaFide in summary, I think want to look real good during the laning phase, turn that into a strong mid game, close the game or get as much damage done to the game there as possible. If we keep going, obviously they have this Senna, obviously they have this Sylas, who will still be scary, but I struggle to see an Udyr and Gnar and Tahm Kench really do anything against late game Rel, Aatrox, Hecarim. And I think the Senna will be outscaled by both Jinx and... or will be out-damaged, perhaps scaled is the wrong word, given Senna's particular kit, will be out-damaged by late-game team-fighting presence of both Ziggs and Jinx.
And I mean, the one thing that I'm worried about here for SolaFide, especially in those team fights, is look at their composition. They all got short arms, TJ. There's not a lot of
Correct.
reach on this team. The
that's
CC
why
you
that-
can get from range is like a chain from Tuesday and maybe a root from Apollo if someone on Barrage is nice enough to stand still for 5 seconds.
And that's why that Aatrox Rel combo is so much fun for me. Because if Barrage can just set up for the fights they want with the front line they have, which they usually do, the engage, for better or worse sometimes, will come from Winter, then I do not see a way for SolaFide to win the team fight once Barrage's damage is online. And that caveat is important. Again, I do think there's a window towards our mid-game here where that will be different. The other thing to keep our eye on as we head towards our mid-game is Barrage's objective control. They're normally really good at it, and a lot of that comes from APA, a lot of that comes from Fnatic as well, but APA's roaming in mid-lane unlocks so much extra control of the map, because again, he is such a macro-focused mid-laner. So on Ziggs, I'm going to be watching for that. There's a lot of shove that can come out, as you're seeing here in mid, from a Ziggs in lane, and that's going to keep Tuesday pinned behind the turret, and that will unlock APA's ability to get out, check for wards, clear some vision, set up some vision towards Drakes and that sort of thing. If we see that make enough of a difference that Barrage dominate the early game objective control like they usually do, then they are off to exactly the start they want. Everything is going to plan.
I'm really looking forward to seeing where Fnatic and Winston go, especially Fnatic, because the top lane, your top laner is going to be struggling here. But if you look at mid and bot, APA is going to mostly be shoving, and bot lane is almost ungankable. We've talked about it before, but Senna Tahm Kench is one of those lanes where it's like, okay, we can't engage on them, and, well, damn, we can't gank them either. I guess we just kind of sit there and let them chill. And they do outscale, but that means Fnatic is going to have to find something to do with his time in order to get himself and his team ahead. I don't know whether that's going to be counter jungling, or in this case, hopefully counter ganking.
Winston, top side. PCL will burn flash, needs to kite away as Dokla's behind the turret as well. Tuesday is TP'd in, and with 3 players for SolaFide showing on the top side, they will get first blood, man.
And off the back of that as well, Fnatic's going to be able to pick up that Gromp, so a little bit of jungle lost as well there for Fnatic, who's trying to come in on the re-engage. PCL here as well. Fnatic finds the charge onto the back, but stunned up.
APA for the flank. I don't think there's an opportunity here. Tuesday and Winston will try and prove me wrong, but Tuesday has no mana. He'll just drift away, man. Not interested in taking these early fights.
I think my favorite thing was you were like, it's APA on the flank. And then we just see Ziggs waddle up and kind of sit there for a few seconds. Like,
Real
wow,
intimidating, okay?
what a terrifying flank.
Oh, double stun. Apollo will be poked low here. Oh, and a stun as well. This is going to keep going.
I mean, this is the problem with this bot lane. It's so hard to lock them down and actually get a positive trade. But Gorka and Winter did a great job getting Apollo down there to half health. But we can see from there, Zeyzal has so much disengage for these fights, and even almost turned it onto Gorka. It was a miracle, really. Gorka was able to get out there and survive.
Yeah. If you have been, out of touch, living under a rock, this is the fasting or starvation Senna. I got told I wasn't supposed to say starvation. I was supposed to say fasting Senna. Where you run a support item on Senna, she's looking for a poke, and you let all the farm go to your support, oftentimes the Tahm Kench. You also see it with Sent sometimes. The Senna will scale just fine, thanks to the souls she gets.
8 gold apiece. We discovered yesterday that is a lot of gold, as it turns out. And that's the reason this is so viable, is because you're just getting so much more income than any support normally would. So you can go basically regular AD carry itemization, and your support also gets to build whatever they want.
Real good with the Tahm Kench, who typically builds a little bit more of that top lane setup. You see something like a Cam Tank or what have you, and your support all of a sudden is a real big threat.
I'm just glad it's not Halo Blades.
There is an invade again inside the jungle on this top side map. Double threat. They're looking for PCL again.
Apollo's up here, just hanging out. ready for this dive onto PCL. This is so far before the Herald. You would never expect this.
Oh dear. We'll get stunned up right against the wall. Here's the attempt from Fnatic to save the day.
Flash.
He'll find a lot of damage and a kill onto Dokla. It's a trade. APA from mid does not find anything with the ult, but they will get 1 for 1. Barrage take those.
Poor PCL's just getting bullied here, and this is one of the matchups we were considering actually highlighting before we came into this series. We ended up on the jungle matchup. The top matchup is so decisive for both these teams. Looking back on this gank, though, there's literally nothing you can do if you're PCL here. Walk in with the stun, you have Dokla on the side, heals for Apollo, and PCL just dies instantly. And sure, Fnatic does a great job punishing Dokla for this, but you're still losing your top laner who is losing so much farm, 2 ganks in a row, and is down a full 36 CS. 26, I can't do math.
Yeah, I liked it. It was like improv, man. Infernal Drake is up now. I do want to highlight that because, again, it's normally a focus for Barrage, but they're investing a lot of resources instead on bailing out their top laner. You touched on it briefly the last time we saw this matchup. The last time we saw Dokla play PCL, it included an 11-kill Camille game where Dokla just dominated that top side. PCL is normally a little bit of a weak point over on this Barrage roster, and Dokla is the kind of player that has consistently been able to exploit that.
And I think this for Barrage, we were talking earlier about where should Fnatic spend his time because there's so much shoving in mid, ungankable bot. Apparently, counter dives for PCL is going to pay dividends for you because you've lost your Gromp twice to these dives, you lost your top laner twice. You finally got an answer kill onto that Gnar, but it really hasn't helped out because you're seeing Winston now taking away the Rift Herald, and there's nothing left for Fnatic to accomplish on the map unless they want to go for a quick dragon, but none of the waves are in the right position for that.
Yeah, so Barrage haven't been able to unlock their early map control like they usually do. APA is one of the reasons why they normally get that map control. He has been roaming a decent amount up towards the top side. The reason he's been able to do that is, of course, because of the Ziggs wave clear, and you can see the effect that is having on Tuesday. I would like to highlight the CS differential there, as Tuesday has just been kind of shoved behind turret this entire time.
I do appreciate being proven wrong by Barrage, TJ. I was like, they don't have the wave state for it, and immediately APA shoves, Gorik and Winter finish shoving, and they immediately go for the Drake. So they've got the Infernal Drake, if nothing else, while they are losing a ton of plates on the top side of the map.
Yeah, really boosting Dokla ahead here from SolaFide during the early game. Normally this isn't how SolaFide play. They will invest Rift Herald and resources down towards Apollo, who is traditionally their star. But it does seem like they've decided, especially given Dokla's start and the fact that there is a Senna down here on Apollo, to dedicate those resources instead towards shutting down this Aatrox and getting Dokla out ahead to be a teamfight carry here in the mid game.
Yeah, I mean, Apollo doesn't really need anything. He's set for life. He's got a trust fund set up in the bottom lane. He's just got to wait for it to mature. Hit level 11, he's good. He's golden. 80 souls in his pocket. They'll hit those 3 items and just destroy the entire side of Barrage, which is why the onus is on them to find advantages in this game, to find a way to push forward any of their win conditions. And so far, the only one they're working towards is Soul.
I would counter that. I do think Barrage, provided that Gorka kind of manages to push this advantage down in the bot lane, because he does have an advantage during this game state where the Senna still isn't quite at items yet. So until we see kind of that Rage Blade coming through, I think Gorka has a pretty definite advantage. Maybe not enough to win the trades down bottom. Senna Tomkanch sucks into lane against, but you can take that elsewhere on the map and be a threat during this early mid game, and I want to see Barrage do that.
I do too, because it circles back to the win condition we set up literally in Champion Select. They need to find their fights. Otherwise, they're not going to get anything done in the bottom lane. Mid lane is dead even, and top lane's getting shoved in. So they need to find those fights. It's just a matter of when and how at the moment.
PCL one plate away from losing the first turret of the game, did just pop the World Ender just to survive that turret dive. Just give you a sense of how things are going. And to be fair to PCL, Winston has bought some camping gear of his own to set up for that top lane. He's going to circle back again. This is like the 5th time he's been in line.
PCL's just got a dip. There's no way you stay here. There's no way it's worth defending the tower. TP is coming out there from APA, like you said, but I don't see a world in which you decide this is a good engage.
Happily for you, APA also doesn't see that world. Jumps up
What's
with
he going to engage with? He's going to ghost at him and toss a little bomb?
I mean, I'd run away from that.
Yeah, that's fair. I would too.
I'm terrified
Ziggs is like
of
low-key terrifying.
Yeah, terrified of midget grenadiers.
Kind of like a squirrel with an explosive pack at that point, really.
Yeah!
And that's
You thought
terrifying.
people
So,
with
good point.
grenades were terrifying. Wait until they're small.
Doklet's just stealing blue buff for another
He's been
update on
doing
game
that.
state.
Fnatic's kind of been having a rough time as a result. Is still, Tuesday in here as well. This is a whole scrap.
Stolen away by APA. There's the kill as well. Fnatic, well done. 2-0-0 now on this hacker run.
He is gone. That is a real clean kill. Buff transfer complete, I think is the correct sentence.
That's how I describe it, TJ. And off that, Fnatic is now 2-0. I don't want to get anyone too excited, but the Barrage fans will be happy to know Fnatic's pretty damn good at Hackerum, especially when ahead. I've seen him carry this into something like a 9-1 kill score and ended up just carrying the lanes with him. And this time, the only lane that's behind is PCL, so this is still very easily within the realm of possibility here for Fnatic and Barrage.
Yeah, Barrage certainly shouldn't be painted as behind in this game, though they are currently behind in gold. A lot of that in the latter half has come from Dokla, who is still scary on that top side, but he just gets shut down as we talked about, so won't be quite the terror they were moments ago.
I was fully expecting you to say, we shouldn't say that Barrage are behind in this game, but they are currently behind in this game.
That would have been accurate.
I'm
Try not to say things I shouldn't, Matt. Except for regarding Golden Guardians.
Yeah, you learned on that one. So
Really
I
fucked
appreciate the care. SolaFide now going to be able to secure this Ocean Drake pretty easily. No contest from Barrage at this point. This is, I'd say, the #1 way Barrage loses their Drakes is just people take them on spawn. Because otherwise Barrage, like we've said, APA is so good at controlling those waves, setting up for those objectives. Once they make that decision, it's very rare that the objective is taken out from under them. But you take it before they think about it. It's the big win condition.
So, good pickups, 1-for-1 on the Drakes. SolaFide keeping things even in that regard and also maintaining their lead. They do need to press more out of it though. And APA stays safe from Tuesday's engage. Fnatic is aware of the rotate into mid, and thus they get nothing. And our dead even early game continues.
And we've got a few minutes before anything really changes. We've got 4 minutes before Drake, 4 minutes before Baron, unless they want to start fighting over each other's buffs. There's not going to be a whole lot of reasons for them to scrap. So I'm expecting a little bit of a lull in the fighting, I say, as I realize Rift Herald is still up. But don't worry, Dokla will fix that real quick.
Yep, Dokla going for it. There is a setup down bottom here for Barrage. They'll know, I think, that this is fairly defensive lane at this point, but Fnatic has just been spotted on ward, so they won't be able to make anything of this. Rift Herald does get picked up top side successfully. Dokla immediately after picking up the Rift Herald will zone PCL off of their wave. There is the potential, and I think we are seeing it reflected in the CS, for Dokla taking that early sideline turret to like really kind of backfire on him, because it has gotten significantly more difficult for Dokla to get access to the wave. And normally you mitigate that by saying, okay, but it is 10 times easier for us to get Rift Herald, 10 times easier for us to invade and steal away some blue buffs. We'll see if that adds up. so far. The blue buff thing didn't really work out, but the Rift Herald thing did.
Maybe PCL can just force the wave to bounce and then freeze it. Dokla obviously doesn't want that to happen, so we'll be engaging with PCL. Zeyzal, gone, apparently. I suspect there will be either a pause coming in a second, or it was just a missed display by the client, which has happened before.
I like that you said that. Yeah, he must be in this game. Casting Abyssal Voyage for a hard engage. Apollo right behind will step on a trap. Gorka is well aware of this play and manages to stay alive.
I got an update while you were saying that from our sick producer, Joe. There was a pause. They just skipped right over it to give us as much League of Legends action as possible.
You can't spell production without cup. I'm dyslexic. I don't know if that's true.
Okay, that's a good defense. That's a really good defense.
But I'm pretty sure there is a P, U, and C. Yeah. It's all in there. Winston around the side. PCL will pop. World Ender has to flash away underneath
Seen
the
this
turret.
before.
But the ult flash will keep PCL alive.
The order of them is PCU, though, TJ. So it's like, you can, but you'd have to spell it wrong.
That's what I do every day, Matt.
There we go. We got it. Can't spell production without cup. We figured it out. We've solved esports.
PCL underneath the turret will be under threat again. This Aatrox having a terrible time. In the meantime, though, Barrage are doing all right, shoving in the mid-wave, getting some more threat on turret. Tuesday did steal away the onslaught of shadows, and that makes him scary enough that the entirety of Barrage run away from them.
I'm super unconvinced by the Zig so far. I know the point is to like stall out the game to the point where Gorica hyperscales into the carry that we all know Jinx should be. But I want some action. I want something to happen. And APA is doing a great job of playing the Ziggs to the point where that is not the case.
Good news for you though, Matt. Mid lane gank is in effect. There's the dive. Dokla misses ulti. Rift Herald will connect. Ulti out from APA. It's a setup, but Fnatic's instantly stunned and chunked down. Rift Herald dies, and here's the flank. PCL coming in.
PCL not be able to find the engage, but Winter does. Dokla gets eaten up by Zeyzal. So ignited, will not fall. Winter is the first one to die in this fight. Gorica off the side. Winston chases down. Zeyzal flashes in. Gorica in a lot of trouble. No mana on APA, but Gorica somehow manages to kite it out. Finally falls to Tuesday. Tuesday finds another. The double kill in the back will spell disaster for Barrage's team fight as Dokla teleports back into the fight for the second time.
Dokla is back, baby. And that will be the end of the team fight. SolaFide managed to find 2 kills and a turret. That was true madness, start to finish.
It's a classic NA fight when you see Dokla go in, die in short order, then at the end of the fight, teleport back in.
Did he this time that flash? Throw run. APA on the front lines does a lot of good work here, and they very narrowly just end the fight, especially with Winter's engaged, but Apollo is exactly on cue, and Zeyzal finds a great Devour to save the day. Then Tuesday does way too much damage to Winter. That is the tank, sir. And Tuesday just goes and detonates him. Zeyzal gets the kill, whilst Gorka is around the outside, unable to contribute in any way. And despite PCL's efforts to distract here, they can't save Gorka. The fight's pretty much over from there. There's no damage left.
I mean, you say that Rel's their tank, and that's technically true, but it's like one of those Russian museum tanks. Like, it hasn't worked in a while.
I would not poke one of those with some chains and expect anything to happen.
That's fair. You know what? That's good counter-argument again, TJ. You're on point today.
I'm on fire. Catch my hiking tips on Twitter.
I was going to say something about being hiking in California not being a great idea, but I thought it was, yeah.
No, hiking in California is a great idea. We got this. Okay, I'm not going to get sidetracked. I love hiking in California. Pressure will come through in the mid and top side now for SolaFide. They are letting that bot lane be the weak side. They left Dokla there to kind of run it. He will eventually push in. APA, you know, we're talking about the scaling over on Jinx and kind of the lack of damage out from Barrage. I do think we need to kind of criticize APA for that as well. He was doing a lot of damage at the start of fight, then he kind of runs out of mana and just is an auto-attack bot and having a real bad time as a result.
Well, it's funny because I was checking APA's build from the last series, and it was tier first so that you have some sort of mana pool to work with. But still, Ziggs just eats mana for breakfast. It's ridiculous. The good news, though, exciting for anyone who loves patch notes, 11.4 Cosmic Drive has been picked up by APA, giving him an additional 20 ability haste. Woo! And movement speed. Like, that's the important
And
one.
the movement speed's built in. He doesn't need to be auto-attacked anymore,
Yeah.
which is why it makes sense on somebody like Ziggs, who doesn't especially want to be hit with spells or abilities, but does want to move faster. A new Cosmic Drive lets you balance those two thoughts. Speaking of balancing thoughts, I don't know how to segue this, but the turret's going down in the bottom lane.
It sure is. Just like in top lane. So now they're balanced. I don't know.
Perfect, Pat.
I really
keep it
tried to
going.
help you out there, buddy.
I liked it. Winston is zoning to try and stop that aforementioned top turret from falling. Theoretically, Ziggs should blow this out pretty quickly, though. And
There you go.
indeed, there you go.
So, taking stock of the game, I mean, we are 22 minutes in, and SolaFide have an undeniable lead, but it's only 4K. If you can find a really good fight here for Barrage, this is literally what their team composition is meant to do. You don't do anything till the late game. You find one fight, you snowball to the end of the game.
I did.
So,
yeah, they are doing real good SolaFide if they don't take any team fights that Barrage want to take, right? Because Barrage are one of the best team fighting teams in Cup. Their coach spoke to me before the game. I asked him what he thought his biggest advantage over SolaFide was. And Return told me he thinks they have the best team fighting in Cup, period. And while I wouldn't go that far, they are certainly up there, provided they can get the fights they're looking for. So if SolaFide can deny them those, and then offer them a few favorable fights, offer them a few fights where Dokla's already working a flank, where Gorka's badly split, like we saw earlier, the downside of that Barrage team fighting is they take those too.
yeah. That's really the one thing I noticed while watching their VOD reviews is they are so confident in their team fighting that sometimes it's to their detriment. They're like, don't worry, we can turn this one. And it's like, guys, everyone left. You walking back in here just means you die. We haven't seen that, though, this game, which I think demonstrates the amount of growth we have seen from Barrage over the last season. I was looking at their older VODs from like 2 weeks ago, and they looked like absolutely awful compared to their current state. Like, it is really just reality TV makeover levels of impressive.
And I want to stress that goes for the entire amateur scene, because as this Barrage roster has been leveling up, so too has everyone else behind and around them.
Get your
Here
heart
is
out,
the
LCS.
pressure. Drake coming up in just 22 seconds. So this pressure is coming in. Flash engage.
Winter finds the engage, teleport coming in from the bottom. Zazel's here, but Gorka somehow still alive, exhausted. Winston chasing down. Gorka needs to find the autos, but gets shut down. PCL trying to find the remainder of damage in the fight, but there is nothing left for Barrage as SolaFide take a near ace. PCL, the last one standing, they are rotating up towards that Baron.
And check this out, exactly what we were talking about. Barrage, real willing to take fights, and sometimes they're not the optimal ones. This starts strong, don't get me wrong. Winter finds a good engage, and they have the follow-through. But right here, once you've blown two stasises, and the entirety of SolaFide show up, Barrage, it really is their cue to leave. APA gets split around the side. PCL can't save him. Now the rest of the team is zoned down. 5v3 very quickly becomes 5v1. Only PCL left on the map as SolaFide take the Baron.
I think the biggest problem, honestly, is that once Winter engages, Gorka has nobody there to help him. We were talking about that this is a very short-range composition from SolaFide. Turns out that doesn't matter if the AD carry is left by themselves in melee range of an Udyr. There is no situation in which your composition's range advantage helps you if you're fighting in melee range. And I would hesitate to put that on Gorka. I'm sure there were slight positional missteps, but it really is a situation of there is nobody to stop Winston. There is nobody to stop Zazel from just walking up and smacking the AD carry.
And I want to kind of dig a little deeper into that. We will see if we have the time. Winter get chased a bit. Winston's still going. But when we were in draft, we were talking about how much tanky frontline there is on Barrage. And we have had a couple of fights now where that has not mattered because the tanks haven't been in front of APA and Gorka.
Now, slight fight in the bottom lane. Mega Inferno Bomb will go out. Looks like Winter once in again. Teleport
TP.
coming in from the side
Dokla.
of Dokla. Won't be Mega Gnar, but will be threatening nonetheless. Taking down Winter. So the fight once again has not found them anything.
Oh, and Dokla deep dive, shoving the team in towards Tuesday, who's got the onslaught, who's got the kills. This could be game number 1, as SolaFide managed to batter down the turrets and sink Barrage during game 1 of this best-of-5 semi-final.
Just an absolute slaughter in the last 2 team fights. SolaFide know exactly how they want to fight, and they took it.
This was an absolute masterclass in map control, in macro, in denying the team fight engages that Barrage so desperately wanted.